Divine greetings and gratitude, tribe. Welcome to the Saiyonan archives. If you're new here, my name is Nuna. I am the poet, the seer, the writer, the witch, the keeper of the archives. Welcome to your new spiritual safe haven. And if you're returning, hey family, welcome back to our sacred space. I'm always honored, excited, and elated to be in your presence. I wanted to come on here to give you guys a reading real quick because although I did not plan on doing this reading on YouTube, I planned on doing this over on Substack to do a written reading and whatnot, to kind of have some content over there or some things for you guys to read. I was actually guided to come on here to give you guys a channeled message on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much for coming on here and spending time with me here today, because I do again have a vision to share with you, actually, and then I'm going to go into the cards. Now, that is exactly the reason why you see the cards already face up here, because again, I was going to do the reading over on Substack. I hope that you are feeling fine. I hope that you are doing as well as you can. In fact, I feel like I want to say that I feel like divine feminine, no matter whether you're male or female or however you identify, man, woman, they, them, whoever, whatever your pronouns are, this is specifically regarding divine feminine energy. After my meditation, I actually ended up asking Spirit, what was it that our soul tribe needed to hear? And the High Priestess actually was the first to come out, and it came out in reverse. The High Priestess is an energy that points to an aspect of our divine feminine. It's also a part of, or it represents our intuition, our ritual of surrendering to the divine to receive downloads and wisdom, navigating these two extremes and divining information. The High Priestess also is a seer. It's like, think of the High Priestess as a scrying mirror, where whenever you go to seek answers, what it really does is kind of reflect back to you, what you already have within you. It reflects the answers back to you, and it helps you see things beyond your own limiting perceptions. But before we even fully get into that, I wanted to start off with the vision that I had during meditation. So during meditation, I ended up seeing what looked like a tetrahedron. Now, for those of you that don't know what a tetrahedron is, the best way that I can explain it would be like a triangular pyramid, and every face is an equilateral triangle. And in geometry, apparently it said that these tetrahedrons are what helps to make up reality, or what helps to make up the universe, if you will. And in esoteric symbolism, it's said to have all the elements: earth, air, fire, and water, because of course you do have it's a triangular pyramid. So on this pyramid, there are different faces of it, and each of these faces represents an element, right? Now, the reason why I say that is because this has a lot to do with creation, and a lot to do with birthing things into being. This has a lot to do with things starting up in the cosmos, starting up in the ether, starting up in the mental realm, and eventually coming down here and solidifying into matter at some point. I know that the tetrahedrons are also associated with the Merkaba. So kind of think of them as a part of an energetic architecture that forms the universe. Just kind of think of it that way. That's the best way that I can explain it. And now I'm going to move on, because I don't want to confuse anybody. You guys could actually look down in the comment section, because I'm going to be putting the actual definition of it and more of maybe like a slight explanation of it and whatnot. So anyway, so in the vision, what I ended up getting was, I saw there was a tetrahedron, and this tetrahedron was flown by a being, this large being. I don't know what the being looked like. It was just a large being, this like a figure, let's just say a figure. And this being took the tetrahedron, and then it threw it, and then when it threw it, it landed in some type of like light that looked and appeared to be fire. And out of that shot lots more tetrahedrons. And it was so interesting because the being took these tetrahedrons and started forming worlds with them. So these worlds were Earth-like planets. And with these Earth-like planets, we ended up zooming in on the one that was our Earth. So there was an aspect of divine creation. There was an aspect of fire. There was an aspect of utilizing fire, the fire element, in order to create, in order to destroy, and in order to create. And then that's when all of these other worlds formed. Okay. So that in itself has a lot to do, I feel like, with what's going on up there in the stars and things like that. But I want to kind of relate something down here to you. And I feel like the reason why Spirit is having me talk about this now, and it may not feel like it's resonant at all, but just hear me out. Just entertain me for a quick second. So the fact that these cards are here, I feel like the word that I hear is expectation. I feel like Divine Feminine perhaps maybe woke up with either a heavy heart, and Divine Feminine woke up feeling as though there was so much that it needed to do, so much to create, so much to do, so much life to give, and all of these worlds that Divine Feminine was responsible for creating. But I'm also feeling like Divine Feminine is feeling as though because there's so much of these expectations, it almost kind of feels overwhelmed because it has to constantly, or it feels like it has to constantly create and nurture and bring things into being, right? I almost kind of feel like Divine Feminine feels stretched way too thin because it's creating worlds, right, all on its own. And that in itself can be, I don't want to say defeating, but it can be very overwhelming, especially when sometimes you just need space to breathe. Sometimes you need space to just simply be open. And sometimes you just need space for understanding and softness, and just being in a space where you feel safe without the need to sacrifice or do much to receive that safety, because being alive is enough, right? Being alive, being in this world and being compassionate and being kind, that in itself is not a job, but at the same time, that in itself is enough. At least that's what Spirit is saying. But see, there's these expectations that people have, or the world may have, on you, Divine Feminine, for you to show up and for you to be a certain way and for you to do things a certain way in order to help keep things going. But that's not your only purpose. There are so many things that you have that are not dependent on you being there for others, you seeing others, and that is not your only reason for existing, right? I also feel like with the Hierophant coming out here, because the Hierophant is here, it's like you have to show up keeping order and keeping divine order. For some of you, you may be a seer, you may be a witch, you may be a sage, you may be, you know, whatever your title will be, you may be these things. And then there's this expectation of you have to show up like that every single time you show up, as if you don't like to color, as if you don't enjoy art, as if you don't like to read and write books, as if you don't like to backflip, as if there are no other things, right, that you have that may be hobbies to you, that may be another aspect or another tetrahedron to your reality, right? So I feel like what Spirit is saying is that if you feel overwhelmed at all, if you feel like you need that time to rest, Spirit is asking for you to honor that time to rest, because the more that you rest, the more these ideas can come to you and flow to you. But not even just that, the more that you can allow your body to relax so that you can receive, because you're not only meant to receive downloads, you're also meant to receive pleasure, to receive love, to receive joy, to receive play. The fact that you do have here the Nine of Coins and you have the Eight of Swords here, some of you feel guilty about just simply enjoying yourself. Some of you feel guilty about just simply existing, saying, I don't have to do this. I don't have to show up for these, for anyone. I don't have to show up for my family right now. I could just simply show up for me and breathe, and that be enough. But sometimes when we have these higher callings, and sometimes when you have these, this duty to show up at things like that, that can kind of, it can get overwhelming, yes, but it can almost kind of make you feel guilty for doing anything outside of that. And I really do deeply feel like Spirit is saying is that you would benefit a lot from just allowing yourself to just sit with your emotions, sit with your feelings, sit with how you feel. Because if you don't, if you keep putting it on the back burner, if you keep putting it away for the sake of everybody else, you'll end up with a lot of issues within the body. You'll end up with a lot of things going on. I don't know why I'm hearing like the word convulsion or something like that, or combustion. It's like, it's the feeling that I'm getting right now is like my body is like popping on the inside. It's like fireworks going off like on the inside of my body is what I'm kind of feeling. And what this represents is all this beautiful energy that not necessarily is going to waste, but it's manifesting in your body because you're not getting it out, if that makes sense. Because so much of your energy has been towards creating this and doing that. When in reality, what Spirit is saying is that you do need that time to rest. Now that I think about it, I'm actually getting a vision of being in space yet again, and the cosmos, it looks like a pool, and there's this astronaut who's diving into the pool. But it's interesting because the pool is the stars. So this to me means that this is a high connection, or a deep connection you have, this watery element you have to the cosmos. And Spirit says that when you allow yourself to deep dive into the cosmos, you'll see just how much wonder exists there. But in order for you to tap into that, you have to give yourself time to rest. Because if you're not resting, then you're overworking and you're overdoing, and then that's when it's going to be very cataclysmic for you. And I also do feel that I'm hearing for somebody to say no. Just say no. Like you don't have to say it with a snarky attitude. And maybe Divine Feminine may be feeling a little bit pissy right now. Again, I don't care about what your gender is. Divine Feminine may be feeling very pissy. And I say that because Divine Feminine is like, listen, like, why do I feel like no one respects me unless I'm this way? Why do I have to keep showing up in this way for y'all to take me seriously, or for, to do, to get what it is that I need, And I feel like with the Judgment card here in reverse, with the Wheel of Fortune reverse, with the Magician reverse, the Eight of Coins reverse, the Three of Coins reverse, it's like I simply really need my own space, because how can I divine and how can I receive prophecy and how can I do this if I'm constantly in a space where I have to do this and that for everybody and everything? Right? Like I can't even do that. Like how can I enjoy myself? The Nine of Coins here is reminding you that enjoying yourself and pleasure and being in your own energy, being in your body, grounding, right? And other things that, adult activities, right? I have to watch my language because there's, kids behind me, but adult activities are essential for, for some of you. For some of you, you're good without adult essentials and things like that, right? You may be good without that, but then there's other ways for you to receive and experience pleasure. It could be chocolate cake or red velvet. I don't know. Like, I don't want to tell you to eat something that you're not supposed to eat. I know for me, I'm not really supposed to have all that stuff, which I don't. It's very seldom that I ever have things like that nowadays because of, PCOS and whatnot. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about that. So basically, and then use that for an example. Like there was a point in time in my life where I was showing up as a seer, I was showing up as a witch, whatever, doing my thing. And I was also showing up for family, also showing up for friends, for certain people. And also healing through certain things that happened in my past and whatnot. And that, it backfired because I will be real with you. I was not fully taking care of myself. And to this day, I still don't understand how I wasn't, right? Perhaps maybe it's just a part of my journey. Maybe I'm just here to help figure out certain things within my own life, right? That can help me understand what happened in my own Divine Feminine lineage. And the more that I take time to rest, and that's another thing, and I'm not making it about me. I'm only giving this to you as a, just to kind of help with the reading. But the fact that Spirit is asking me to share this with you, regardless of how people are going to think of me, whatever, right? The more rest that I receive or get, the more that I say no to certain things, and the more that I sit down, the more that I take care of my body, the less sugar that I have, the more I understand the reason why my own grandmother, ended up passing. To me, it was very early. She passed, I believe, like in her 50s, I think. I can't remember. I think it was like her 50s or like 60s. I can't remember. But I feel like she passed early. But she also was a woman who had, she had like a lot of, yes, okay, she's giving me permission to say this. Yeah, she had like a lot of skin tags on her and things like that. And that was one of the main signs of having PCOS, cystic ovaries, and also insulin resistance or blood sugar problems. And she actually, took medication and things like that. She ended up losing weight, right? Because her body was a bit bigger like back in the day, but she ended up like losing weight and things like that. She was doing well, she was doing well for a while, but after my grandpa passed, like it was like a lot of things going on. And it's so wild that I myself can relate to that because my husband, ended up passing away. And then I ended up having, going through like while he was here, I had a really difficult pregnancy, and he passed away when I was 3 months postpartum, with my second child. And then from there, it's like I started gaining weight, and it was just crazy because I would barely eat anything, right? And like that was a part of the problem though. It was like I was barely really eating much of anything. I would enjoy cake in here and there, but my body was like, girl, we're stressed out. Like, can you not do this? Like, it wasn't until I started losing a lot of my hair, I started, my period wasn't coming, and I was like, what's wrong with my nails? Like, my body was like in this state of survival. And it wasn't until I got my fitness coach, shout out to her, Luna. It wasn't until I decided to, okay, get a fitness coach, and then she had me like change certain things around. I started going ham on doing research, and then that's when it was like, okay, I need to make sure that I, get with the program, because I ended up going to the doctor, and it was like all kind of things. And I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to beat this. I'm not going to allow this to be the end of my life because I'm not saying no enough. And I refuse to allow myself to go out like that when I know that I can change it up by making these decisions to better care for myself without being so sacrificial. Divine Feminine, you're being asked to not be so sacrificial or self-sacrificial, because the more that you do that, the more medicine you will need. Because if you keep giving away the medicine, then who gives it to you? Because people already expect the Hierophant here. People already expect for you to be the one to show up to do things for people. And if you yourself are not receiving the medicine, who's going to give it to you? If you are giving away the medicine, who's going to help you? Because you're the one. The fact that I saw the being earlier, it was like it was creating worlds. You are creating worlds and spaces for other people, but who will create the space for you? Who creates this space for you? And I'm going to go there for a second. Just let me go there for a second. I'm going to rant real quick because I feel so protective and I love you guys this much. Let's talk about Divine Masculine for a second. Let's talk about men for a second. How men are expected, right, to show up in a certain way. And no, I'm not a pick me. I'm going to say what it is. And if people have an issue, they can have that issue. Speaking from as a woman, right, who obviously has Divine Masculine, men as partners, because that's what I choose, right? I choose men obviously as partners. So seeing that men get often treated like, well, you're not worth anything unless you're going to provide. If you're not going to provide, then you really ain't shit. Right? You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, well, damn if he has anything that he loves to do. Damn if he's intuitive. Damn if he likes to enjoy himself. Damn if he likes to go bike riding. You're going to reduce him to his ability to work. Right? Not all men are like that. Not all women are like that. But this isn't even a matter of like gender. It's not even a matter of that. I'm using this construct because people relate to constructs. So let's just take that one construct and say, imagine if we reduce him to just that. We take away his humanity. We say, you're not worth shit except doing this. Then the next thing you know, he has health problems. God forbid he passes away from suicide because the world told him he wasn't shit. And then you have all of these expectations on people. I mean, he had all these expectations on him and he continued. And I'm speaking on behalf of someone's ancestor here. They're saying that I myself, and this is a trigger warning and I should have gave this warning, and you guys know how raw I am. And I know that these readings, sometimes they get heavy, and it's okay that they get heavy, because when you're here at the Saiyonan archives, please do not expect, please, and I'm going to be real with you, please do not expect these pretty little readings and oh, that's cute. Like, no shade to anybody, but we go deep here, and I'm not afraid to go deep, because when it comes to these things, it is a problem. It's a problem that people feel like they don't belong in this world because people keep putting expectations on them, and then they go with those expectations, and when they don't fulfill that, it's like they just get tossed to the side. This society has an issue, and I mean this society has a problem with reducing people down to what they can produce for the sake of other people. That shit is an issue. It is an issue. And I feel like Divine Feminine is like, I'm tired of dealing with that, because it is not fair that the only way you see me is through this. There is no way that I am only here to do what you need me to do. No, it ends here and it ends now, because every time you say no, Divine Feminine, every time you say no, whether you're male, female, whatever it is you identify as, when you say no, and when you say and you set that boundary, people know, okay, I can't do this person like that. I can't just use them. I can't be a vampire with them. You damn straight you can't be. Because if I allowed myself to fall into that, my life will be cut short. I value my life. I value myself. I value my family. I value my friends. I value this world. And in order for me to value everyone, I must value myself. And you will not reduce me to what you need me to be. You will not reduce me to an expectation. I am alive. I am living. I am breathing. And I have the right to exist outside of doing things for you. Somebody needed to hear that today. Somebody needed to hear that, because it's not fair that you yourself have to feel like you have to experience that. And for what? No, absolutely not. If people want to get mad because you don't want to show up, so what? Fuck it. Let them be mad. Let them be upset. Because all it does, them being upset, shows their codependence. All it does is reveal where they need you. Where they need you outside of their own abilities. You are not the one to you don't have to be the one to always show up in this way. And if people continuously make you feel like you have to do that, you have to ask yourself, why do they keep doing this to me? Why do they keep making me feel like I have to show up this way? And better yet, why am I allowing it? Why am I allowing this? Do I myself feel like there's something wrong if I don't show up in a way that they need me to? Ask yourself, go back to your childhood. What was the first occurrence of you feeling as though you had to in a way metaphorically die for them? Like what was the first occurrence? Who made you feel like you were not good enough outside of what you were able to do for them? And then we go back to that child and we say, I love you, because you are worth so much more than what your family, what your so-called friends, what your so-called neighbors see. You know, you're worth so much more than that. And you don't ever have to feel like you have to overextend yourself. The fact that you are alive is a miracle. Look at how much of a miracle you are, that no one else will ever have your skin. No one else will ever have your birth chart. No one else will ever have your strand of hair. No one else will ever have your pigment. You are someone who is so unique. The body you exist in is such a miracle. How is it that you are able to exist in this body? Love yourself. Take your time, say no when you need to say no, and remember that the world card here says that once you master the art of no, once you master the art of self-love, when you master the art of honoring your divine feminine, everything, the world you are creating, they will fall into harmony. They will harmonize. They will harmonize, and I'm hearing spirit say you will be set free. You are not a slave to their expectations. You are not a slave to their desires. You are not a slave to their desires. Now, if you're into certain type of acts, I can't say too much about that right now. However, if you are into certain things, you know, that may be like a little bit of a different story. If you catch my drift, you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to go that far. But you are not a slave to their desires or their ideologies. Absolutely not. And every time you heal a part of yourself, you heal the lineage that came before you that also struggled with that. Every single time, to my men, to my women, to my they, to my my non-binaries, and whatever genders, whatever in between. You exist in the way that you want to exist. And when you feel like showing up, then you show up. And I respect the fact that this is your livelihood 100%, but you are not meant to just simply produce, because let's be real, you constantly showing up and doing certain things like, okay, doing readings and doing this and doing that. Sometimes we fall into capitalism, and then other people fall into consumerism. You are not here to be consumed. You're here to be remembered. And this is what walking the path of remembrance looks like for some of you. And I'm going to honor that. When you come to these Saiyonan archives, know that you are cared for one. Know that you are loved for two. Know that you are seen. Know that you are seen. And you are seen beyond all superficiality. You are seen. You are seen. I will speak as much life as I can into you. I will speak as much love as I can into you, because that is what I'm also here for. And to be quite honest with you, I wish that I had more people speaking more love and life into me and this area of my life. And so I'm going to give you that gift just in case you don't have it. And if you already have that gift, well, you get to receive it from me. You've never had it from Nuna, and therefore this is your first receiving it from me. And I honor the fact that you may have received this gift from other people. And maybe this is your just time to receive. Maybe this is just your moment in your life where you're just like, okay, well, I'm going to receive this gift from several sources. Absolutely. Because look at how much you've given. Look at how much you've given. 9 of Pentacles. I want you to focus on eating the foods that nourish you, that make you feel good, yes, but that are also healthy for you, that support your body, that support your nourishment, that support you. And when you start to change up, right, your world, And when you start to mold your world as to the way that you want it to be molded, people will fall in alignment with that, as long as they're in alignment. Because, and let's be real, and there's one more thing that I want to say before we go. There are people out there who will project onto you and say no and this and that and whatnot, and be mean and, you know, be a little spiteful and call themselves spiritual, when that's just really the shadow work they've avoided. And I say that because people will be like, nope, and they want to try to force you to do what they want you to do, because, and they call it, well, self-love. Yeah, no, that's just a responsibility. You didn't do your shadow work. Because anybody that did their shadow work would understand that I would never want somebody to just mold to my reality because I feel like I want them to, because I've suffered in life. That's entitlement. And we don't do that here. Yeah, we don't do entitlement here. You can call that out too, if you feel like you wish to. If, you know, if you're like me, you may call it out. You know, if someone's trying to be like that towards you, then if you're like me, you will call that shit out. And people may not like it. Oh well. Oh well. But you're not going to treat me that way. Because anybody that has truly done their shadow work will say, all right, I understand that you are in a space of receiving. I too am in a space where I am receiving. Maybe this is just not a time for us, you know, to merge. And I'm okay with that. And when we will merge, when it's time for us to merge, I honor it. Right? I will honor that. Good luck with your journey. I know you're in a space of receiving. May you receive everything you need right now. Right? May you receive that. May I receive that. You shake hands, you give hugs, you walk away. Boom. Respect. Respect. You don't have to force anybody to do what you want them to do. And maybe you are around people who may be like that. Cut it off. If you want to, cut it out. Snip, snip. Cut it. Also, the last thing for real. Grace. The Queen of Cups is like, all right, Nuna, let's give a little bit of grace. Let's give a little bit of grace. And so this is the grace that I'm giving you right now, okay? The Queen of Cups gives healing waters and nourishment to the High Priestess right now, because the High Priestess needs it, okay? So love, peace, gratitude, divine feminine vibes, divine feminine energy to whoever needs it. Nourishment right now. I feel like I want to make a nourishment candle, actually. I feel like I'm going to do that just because. I think I want to make a nourishment candle and a nourishment oil. Because I really feel like I really want to do like a nourishment line. You heard it here, folks. You first heard it here. You heard it here first. So I'm going to do a nourishment, a nourishment candle. I don't know what the color of the candle is going to be yet, but it's going to be the divine nourishment line or something like that. I don't know. We'll see. But yes. Also, I was working with Divine Feminine Oil today, and that's could be the reason why the messages came through so strongly, because Divine Feminine Oil is definitely here. I'm not trying to self-plug. I am letting you know, though, that this was the energy that I was working with today. And after working with this energy, of course, yeah, I heard exactly what I needed to hear. Y'all, when y'all work with the essentials here at the Saiyonan Archives, if you are not ready to do the work, do not use them. Because if you are not going to work your magic for real, and if you're not really going to do the rituals, just don't even think about reserving. Because if you do reserve, I'm trying to tell you, you will end up doing work for real. Because when I create things, I like to ensure that it helps you to expand your consciousness, right? And then that's another message for another time. Divine Feminine, I do love you very much, very deeply, very soulfully. Thank you for listening and tuning into this message. If you need anything from me, please feel free to visit me online over at the SaiyonanPath.org. And if you need anything from me as well, you can comment down below. Give me a heart, a love note, your favorite emoji down in the comment section. And also follow along with me over at the Saiyonan Path over at on Instagram. I'll make sure to have everything linked down below. I love you guys. Take care, and I will catch you in my next video.